It's time now for Gina Gardiner and Friends, the show that shares stories from inspiring people from a wide range of expert guests, all focused on helping you live a happier, more successful, and fulfilling life. Gina Gardiner is a multiple #1 international best-selling author, motivational speaker, business coach, and trainer. She's the founder of Genuinely You and has over 30 years experience of helping people step into their genuine, authentic power, personally and professionally.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And now, here's your host, Gina Gardiner.
Hello there, and a huge welcome to this week's episode of Gina Gardiner and Friends. Today I'm joined by Tehilla Aloni. Now, this is an amazing lady. In the past, she was a judo champion in Israel, and she was also a boot camp instructor in the Israeli army. She is now a homeopath and an extrasensory business consultant, and we're going to find exactly what that is as we talk to her. Today's theme, balance is power, embracing a holistic approach for happiness and success. A huge welcome to the show, Tehilla. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Gina. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, it's for many people looking at, and people can't see you, but looking at somebody who looks as feminine as you do, being a judo champion, being a boot camp instructor in the army is something that perhaps you wouldn't put the two together. So tell us your story, because I'm sure with the range of things that you've done, it's going to be really interesting.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the compliment. I've actively worked on becoming more feminine, given my background.
Well, I have to say, you look gorgeous.
So thank you. That's much appreciated. I like to think that looking back at my life and at everyone's life, it's sort of everything we do and all the challenges that we faced are actually there to help us develop our unique skill set in order to do for the purpose of our souls, so we can bring our unique light into the world. So looking back, obviously, you say 20/20 hindsight.
Wonderful
So looking back at my life, now it's very clear to me, as much as it can be from my human point of view, what I've been through and why I've been through it. But at the time, obviously, it wasn't so clear, especially as a youngster. So when I was young, from the age of 5, I used to do judo. I started doing judo because one of my neighbors, she used to beat me up. And she was also in judo. And then I decided, I asked my mom, and I really wanted to do judo. And she said that, I had to wait till I was 6. So, more or less at the age of 5, 6, I started doing judo. I started training, and then I became the national judo champion. And I joined the national judo team. And that was very good in order to develop my self-discipline and my determination.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I've noticed that in individual sports, you have to be very selfish because it's a zero-sum game. Because you're always, you're having to make sure that you're first place, and it's on the expense of all your other opponents, and you're concentrating constantly on your success. So I was the national champion for many years, and I was focused on that. And then I injured my knee. And it was just at that time when I had joined the Israeli army, and I fought in order to become a boot camp instructor. I actually wanted to be a boot camp instructor for female recruits, but I became the boot camp instructor for male recruits. The Israeli army doesn't exactly ask you
what you'd like to do.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
What you'd like to do is a Tuesday afternoon, or you can do this, or you could do that. No, probably not. Yes.
Yeah. So when I became a boot camp instructor, it was for new male recruits from disadvantaged backgrounds. So you must understand, these are people, petty criminals, and the army actually takes them on in order to help them and give them another chance in life. So it's a thankless job. And I managed, thankfully, to do the flip from someone who's very self-centered and selfish to someone who's in a position when they're constantly giving, and like I say, it's thankless. They're constantly giving to people who don't appreciate what you're giving. So it was very painful and very intense, but luckily I managed to do that shift in order to reach the next stage of my development, which was in that position.
Can I just stop you there? Because it's an interesting thing, isn't it, that we often see people who are very focused on either their sport or their career or something they want to succeed, and they've almost got blinkered vision. That's where they want to go. And you've made that shift into a situation where there are people who, as you say, disadvantaged, many of them on the wrong side of the law. You've said it was thankless. And yet I wonder, giving those people a second chance, a sense of self-worth, I'm interested to just explore the fact that you say it was thankless. I know they didn't appreciate you, but did you turn them round? And could you see the difference in them by the time you had worked with them?
I'd love to say that I did, but in most cases, I did to a certain degree, and only towards the end. It's like a 3-month program, 2 to 3 month program. And during that time, they're constantly fighting against you because they don't know discipline. It's not something that they've had experience with, especially not in a system in the army where it totally sort of doesn't take into account your needs and wants as an individual. So it was very, very challenging, but I'm very focused on my mission. And that was from the judo. And I also knew that from the judo, I learned that, you just focus on your mission and you keep on pushing and pushing and pushing, and ultimately you will reach your goal. So I did the best I could. And towards the end, some of them were very appreciative and thankful, and they had changed, whereas some didn't. But, that's just the way life is. You just do your best and you can't control results.
I think there's a really strong lesson there, isn't there? That ultimately change is the individual's responsibility. People can offer help, support, ideas, but if the person wants to change, they will grab that with both hands. If they're not ready to change or not prepared to change, no amount of effort is going to change them. They have to do it for themselves, don't they?
That's a great point that you're raising here, because I see that's very true. And I work with women who are working in nonprofit organizations. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I tell them is, don't try to reach down and help people that are at the bottom of the barrel, because many times people who are drowning usually will drown you and pull you down with them. However, try to help the people that are quite high up, and they just need a little push in order to cross that barrier. And then if you manage to bring them up and to raise them above, then you've raised 10 people with the same energy that you would have invested in that one person. And those 10 people can raise other people. So it's always, I think, in most situations, it's, although, sometimes we have family members that we really want to help and people we really care about, but you have to be helping people that want to help themselves. Otherwise, it's just like a black energetic hole that sucks your energy and prevents you from helping the people who do want your help.
There's an old saying, I think, which is really absurd, and that is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And sometimes there is that readiness. And, I've worked with many people over the years who have reached rock bottom when there is nowhere else for them to go. And they finally recognize that it's their responsibility to at least accept the help. But until then, while people are in victim mode, it's very difficult to help them. And I think there are so many people get caught up in I've got to rescue them. And don't for 1 minute thinking that ignoring people in trouble, quite the opposite. But I think you can offer a hand, but ultimately the other person's got to prepare to take the hand rather than bite the hand. And sometimes you have to offer it in a number of different ways at different times until they are ready. But ultimately, I believe we are each responsible for us, unless we're very small children. And being able to take that responsibility makes you much better able to accept the help that people offer. And you're right, drowning people will often try to grab hold of and strangle the person who's trying to rescue them. And if you're not careful, you've got 2 drowned people.
I totally agree. It might sound cruel, but, at the end of the day, experience has shown that I think, most people think, when I was young, I talk about myself, I thought I would be able to change the world. And I had these huge goals. And it was all about how I'm going to change the world. And as I matured and evolved, I understood that it wasn't my job to save the world. I left that to God. And it was my job to help whoever wanted and needed my help, and that I was able to help. So instead of wasting energy on these high, fantasies, I just focused on doing what I could. And I think, like people say that perfectionism is the enemy of doing. So it's just, you just try to help whoever comes your way, and you do your best. And part of having faith, I think, is knowing that it's not your job. You do your share, and the universe will take care of the rest.
I think that's very true. We're going to go for a short break, but when we come back, I've left you at the boot camp of the army. I'd like you to take us forward from there so you can share some more of your journey. But please don't go away. We'll be back in just a moment.
Fillet of fish from a dish. Big Mac down a cul-de-sac. And even under a drying rack. Veggie deluxe in power cuts. Cheese bites for attic nights. Gherkin flirting. Wraps through cat flaps. Nugs on rugs. Or a share box to the river. Because now we deliver.
With the timeless protection of ADT, it's safe to say,
hey Google, unlock the front door.
When you've helped save more lives than any other home security brand, it's safe to say there's a reason millions of people trust ADT to help protect what matters most.
Welcome back. Tehilla and I were talking about her journey, and we left her helping those people who weren't always grateful for her help in the Israeli army boot camp. So how do you move from being in a boot camp in the Israeli army to being an extrasensory business consultant and a homeopath? It seems like a huge stretch.
Well, you see, most people, most Israelis, after they do the army as compulsory in Israel, they feel they have to sort of break free and start traveling abroad. Therefore, there are many countries which think that the Israeli population is much more than it actually is.
Okay.
Due to the huge amount of tourism. Yeah. So as every good Israeli, I started saving money, and then I actually worked in London. I was selling sandwiches to officers on a bicycle. I was going from office to office on a bicycle, selling sandwiches and soups and crisps. And on the weekends, I used to make breakfast at a rowing club. And then I saved money, and I traveled abroad. And there was I traveled abroad, and I said, I was going to decide what I was going to do and take that time. And I remember that several years ago, I had cousins who were living in England, and they had work experience, which means that they had 2 weeks. I thought it was ingenious when I heard this idea. Yeah. They had 2 weeks when from school, they actually went to a workplace that they were interested in and spent time there on a daily basis just to see the routine in the workplace. Because, most of us at least I had a very, ideal idea of what careers are. I was watching LA Law and I thought that being a lawyer was all about that. and I realized that from this work experience, when you actually go and experience the job, on site and not through university, that's a great way to choose a career. So at the time I was traveling abroad, I went to the Far East and I was debating whether I should become a homeopath or study business.
Okay.
And I went to this homeopath in India and I sat there for a few weeks every day and saw the work, and then, so experienced homeopathy. And then I bought leather goods in India and BDs. I'm embarrassed to say these handmade cigarettes that they make in India. And I flew to London and I tried to sell them in Portobello Market and in Camden Market. And I failed miserably. Okay. But that was my business experience, to me anyway. They put me at I learned that you have to have, you have to have good contacts with the people in the market. So they put your story in a place where actually people come in contact with it, because they put me in the back and no one bought anything. And then after I experienced business, what I thought was business, I went to another uncle in Mallorca and he taught me how to trade and how to trade on the stock markets. He used to trade on the stock markets, and I practiced paper trading. That means that you don't really buy stock, but you write down on paper as if you bought the stock.
Yes. Yeah. And
what I noticed was that even losing money on paper, losing money in theory, got me so stressed and ruined my day that I decided it would be better for me to study homeopathy, which ultimately I think was the best choice I've ever made, because homeopathy is all about spiritual principles and understanding people. And I think business is all about spiritual principles and understanding people. I once dated this diamond dealer, and he told me that when he comes to buy a diamond, he doesn't look at the diamond. He looks at the person selling the diamond. And that was the best advice I ever got on that. So business is all about people. That's what I've understood. So I'm very happy I studied homeopathy, because it gives me a much better understanding about business.
So what is an extrasensory business consultant?
Okay, that's a good question. And you see, what I do is I use my business knowledge. I'm the CEO now of an access control company, an entrepreneur, and everything I've studied in business and all my experience, I have the knowledge. However, I use my extrasensory abilities in order to advise other business owners. So the way I think about it is like, when you learn and experience things, it's like you're building highways. Okay. And my extrasensory abilities that I've developed actually use those highways in order to convey information. So information comes on all the highways that I've been building during my studies, my spiritual studies, and my experience in business. But the information comes from a higher source, and I use that in order to help other business owners succeed in their business.
How do you access that highway? Because for many people who are listening to this, they are probably sort of squinting and shrugging their shoulders and saying, how does that work?
Well, for me, I think everyone has their own, way that they do it, but I use a technique called bioergonomy. So actually, bioergonomy is an extrasensory technique that allows me to perceive and influence the subject that I am focusing on. What does that mean? According to bioergonomy and other spiritual practices, everything has an energy field, or energy fields that nurture and support it, whether it's a person, an animal, a plant, a business, a relationship, a bank account even, okay? And once these energy fields are disrupted, that's when you see problems. You see sickness, you see loss of money, you see all these problems arising, people start to quarrel. And it's usually when you see, if you check this using bioergonomy, you see that these energy fields are disrupted, and I can fix it using bioergonomy. How do I do it on a practical level, you might ask?
My next question, you beat me to.
So you see, the eyelids are the most sensitive muscle in our body. And I use my eyelids as indicators. That means I will ask a question and I can tell myself, okay, if I move my fingers horizontally, and at the same time my eyelids will flicker, that's a yes. If I move my fingers vertically and my eyelids flicker, that's a no. I use my eyelids like an indicator, like you would think say you've got a lamp and you decide that every time if the lamp flickers on and off, it means something else. I can use it to check percentages. I can go and say 10, 20, 30 in my mind, and my eyelid will flicker on the right percentage. It might be 50%, for example. Or if someone's hiring people and they have different people that they're debating whether they should work with them or not. So I can just go, it's the first, second, it's the third person that I check. So I do that using my eyelids.
I've never heard of anything like this. How did you discover it? Is it something that you've created, or did you tap into something that somebody else had created and use it for yourself?
So I used to go to this Chinese medicine woman.
Okay.
And she used this bioergonomy as a diagnostic tool in addition to the Chinese medicine. And I asked her, what are you doing? And she explained to me. And I went and did a quick search on the internet. And then I saw this lecture by this Israeli woman who is explaining about it. And you know how they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Absolutely.
So as soon as I saw that lecture, I was like, that's it. That's what I was looking for, because I had been wanting to develop my extrasensory abilities for many years. And as soon as she explained that technique, I was like, right, that's it. I felt like, the electric socket just kind of connected. And then I pursued her, and I started studying this, and then I developed my own technique using my life experience and my unique skill set, and incorporating that with with who I am, basically.
We're going to go to a short break now, but when we come back, you must tell people where you can be found, but also what the dream is moving forward. So please don't go away. We'll be back in just a moment.
As a mom, I want my kids' lives to be filled with joy and possibility. And I want that for every kid. That's why I support No Kid Hungry. They work in schools and communities to make sure every kid gets the healthy meals they need. Please join me in supporting No Kid Hungry for all kids.
Thank you!
Welcome back. So how long ago did you find this right methodology for you? Is it something recent or something you've been doing for some years?
Well, I've been studying Kabbalah for over 20 years. And in Kabbalah, we talk about the light and the vessel. Okay? So the light is something that you don't want to draw by force into your vessel, because that can crack the vessel. Hence what happens when you use recreational drugs, etc., without going into that. But it's all about strengthening the vessel. When you focus on your self-development, you can strengthen and increase the size of your vessel. And the stronger and larger and purer your vessel is, the more light you can actually bring into this world. Okay? So I've been working on my vessel from the age of 20 during all these different spiritual practices. Yes. And it's 6 years ago, when I was pregnant with my eldest daughter, that I discovered bioergonomy. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
And you use it within your homeopathy or and your business, or the business consultancy, or do you do it just in one or the other?
Well, you see, what I've noticed, I've been in the field of counseling for over 20 years, okay? And I've been working with women who are my homeopathic patients for all this time. And I've been noticing that they might come to me because of a certain physical ailment. And I give them a remedy, which is not specifically for this physical ailment, but I take into account They're all the whole. That's why we talk about holistic.
Yeah.
All the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms and their environment and their personal characteristics. And I saw that once I started giving them homeopathic remedies, the businesswoman would be making more money. Okay, it would align them with abundance. Their business, they made better choices. They overcame all these patterns that were holding them back, and they were doing much better in business. And then when I added the bioergonomy, the business consulting onto that, I saw that really, that threw them completely to the stars, so to speak. And I saw that was a huge success. And that's when I decided that the best tool for me, and from what I saw gave the best results, was actually taking a businesswoman, giving her a homeopathic remedy, which is what I describe as the passive income. She's taking the homeopathic remedy and, things are already starting to improve physically and emotionally. And then I do the bioergonomy. I check the energy fields. I maintain the energy fields of her business. And I give her the extra insight for her to make better choices in a business. So I take it like it's a holistic, all-encompassing approach to help businesswomen from, like I say, from a completely different, mindset, I think. It's instead of working just on the material plane, we want to bring the spiritual into the material in order to elevate the material.
I think having a holistic approach for me seems to make so much sense, because separating yourself out physically and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, your business, your personal life seems to me very a construct which is false. We take the whole of us wherever we go. And so it makes sense to look at things holistically. Where can people find you, Tehilla?
Thank you. I have got a website. It's called bio4biz.com, BIO, the number 4, BIZ.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Tehilla Aloni. Tehilla is spelled with a double L. Facebook, also Tehilla Aloni, and also in Instagram. I think the best thing is, though, going to my website where you can get sort of a better idea of what I do. And I'd be happy to meet and explain what I do, because I think it's very important that people from the business world understand this holistic approach. I think it's, I think the entire world would be a better place if people had a win-win approach and would take spirituality into, like I say, into the material world. And that's where we will see the huge change in humanity as a whole.
I couldn't agree more. I think we need to bring heart into business. We've had a profits-driven business environment. It's time to bring a purpose and heart-led focus into business, I think. We're at the end, and one of the things that we do as very proud members of B1G1, Buy One, Give One, which is a giving organisation to help those who are struggling. All of the projects are fully vetted, and we invite all of our guests to choose one of 4 projects, and we donate on your behalf. And those 4 projects at the moment are clean water, education, health, and reforestation. Which of those 4 would you like us to donate to on your behalf?
I'd be happy if you donate to health, because I think health is the basis for everything.
That will be going on its way at the end of the month. And remember that just by listening to the show that you help people, because we give meals for the hungry based on the number of listeners. Tehilla, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for joining me, listeners. Love to know what you think and how you are. And if you've got a story that you'd like to share, please email me at Gina, Gina, at Gina Gardiner, Gardiner, and friends.com. That's Gina at GinaGardinerandFriends.com. There's lots of books and resources to help you. Please go to genuinely-you.com and you'll find them all there or on my author page. Take care, and thank you very much for joining us this week. See you on the next show. Bye-bye now.
Thanks for listening to Gina Gardiner and Friends, the show that helps you live a happier, more successful, and fulfilling life. To learn more about Gina Gardiner, go to genuinely-you.com. If you would like to work with Gina or book her as a speaker, email her at gina@genuinely-u.com.